I find William's voice is really sexy. He really should play a movie or something, a scene. Well, now, the next speaker, is Gary Chong of Deloitte. I first met Gary in the Starlight Foundation dinner. William brought me there. I first met him in this charity dinner. When we exchanged business card, I was surprised. He's probably the youngest Big Four partner I've ever met. And he's Chinese. Gary's from Hong Kong. Well, I guess being a Chinese and becoming a partner at Deloitte at such a young age, his story must be very inspiring. And also, I really enjoyed talking to Gary because he's so humble and down to earth. Like Bible said, those ones who praise himself will be humbled, and those who humble himself will be praised. Well, I think Gary is a perfect example. Let's welcome Gary Chong, partner of the Deloitte Private Wealth.
Can everyone hear me? Can everyone hear me with the mic? Can you hear me? Thank you, Sean, and thank you for the wonderful welcome. I'm actually not as young as you think.
You look young.
Well, want to thank you, Sean, for the invitation to come to talk to you today. It's definitely a privilege to be here, and it's always been a passion of mine to be able to share with you my story and what I've gone through in my career. So my topic today is to talk about how to become a partner in a Big Four firm. And when I was actually preparing for the presentation, some of the things I'll be sharing with you today, it's a lot wider than that. It's not just Big Four firms. It applies to your careers, whether you're in commerce or whether you're in professional services. So today I'll be sharing with you a little bit of my background, my journey, and I'll be sharing with you 4 key things that had helped me to get to where I am today. So you probably see on the slide, in 1990, my family immigrated from Hong Kong. I was born in Hong Kong. I was 9 years of age, so I'm not that young, Sean. And when I arrived in Melbourne, it was a very difficult time in my life because I didn't speak any English. So it was difficult for me to communicate. And in school, I was struggling at school because I just don't know what the teacher was talking about. So by the age of 16 in 1996, I made a decision in my life. I said I want to be an accountant when I was 16 years of age, and that was my passion for accounting. And you might think, well, 16, I'm still growing up, I'm still developing, why did I want to be an accountant as my career? I remember I was studying accounting, and you've probably all gone through that yourself. I was doing balance sheet. Thank you. And when I was doing my balance sheet, when the balance sheet balanced, I had this satisfaction, I had this content. I said, yes, I got it right. So that sort of impacted on my future, I guess. And of course, I went on to study in university, majored in accounting. And in 2002, I joined, back then was a Big Five firm, Arthur Andersen, as a graduate, which then became Ernst & Young. And in 2004, I joined Deloitte. And I've been in Deloitte so far, another 11 years, and I was made partner in 2014. And that, by the way, that photo was 5 years ago, so I hope I look better in person in the photo. So when I look back in my career, there's certainly been a lot of highs and lows, tough times, good times, stressful times, happy times. And it's been a hell of a ride. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And what I want to share with you today are 4 key ingredients that I've learned throughout my career that I want to share with you today that I guess that helped me to get to where I am now. The first is being authentic. What does authentic means? Being true to yourself, okay? You're going to be true to your values, true to your passion, and more importantly for people in the room, true to your heritage. True to your values, what does that mean? It means being true to what you stand for, what your beliefs are, what makes you tick, what you like, what you dislike. Why is that important? Because in any organization, whether you're in professional services or in business, it's always about people, okay? You're dealing with customers, you're dealing with teammates. They want to know who you are. They want to know what you stand for. Because without knowing you, they can't establish a trusted relationship with you. So when this opportunity comes up, when there's a promotion, whether it's an opportunity coming up, they want to know who you are, because once they know who you are, they trust you, they'll be able to support you in your career. Okay? The second point I want to talk about is stay true to your passion. I've been in the professional service industry for 13 years. So I've seen a lot of people come and go, okay? But what I find interesting is the people who succeed are the ones that are passionate about what they do. Why is that the case? Because passionate people, they normally are the ones that would go the extra mile. They're the one who's going to continue to improve themselves, to come up with new ideas, new solutions. And when I was preparing for this presentation, I was looking at some of the very successful people that we know in our lifetime. People like Warren Buffett, who's a billionaire, entrepreneur. People like Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, or Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook. And what I found was they all have one common thread. And the common thread is they all love and they are all passionate about what they do. And I've got some quotes here. Steve Jobs said, "People with passion can change the world for the better." Mark Zuckerberg said, "I think it's important if you're going to take on any big challenge that you just love," and the word love is very important, "and really have faith in what you're doing." That, I think, is the most important advice I would say. And, in professional services, there are people who come through and they come here for the purpose. Maybe they're here to take on a new skill, for training, for accreditation. That doesn't matter, because those steps are your stepping stone to get to where you want to be. The key is you need to know where your passion lies, and you do everything you can to actually get there, to reach up, to get to the end where your passion lies. The third thing is stay true to your heritage. A lot of you here are of an Asian background, and what I want to say to you is use your background to your advantage, okay? Because what you bring to the table is a very different skill set. What you bring is a diversity of ideas. You have different way of thinking, and in corporations these days, they want people with different ideas and bring it to the table, because when organizations make decisions, they want to make the best and most informed decision. Okay, and I think Sean mentioned before, we're in the Asian century. A lot of organizations or businesses are positioning themselves to work with Asia. Because of your background, you understand the background. You may be able to speak the language and also understand the way they do business, and that differentiates you from other people. And I'm a very good example of that. The reason I went partner was because Deloitte wanted to focus on the Asian market. And coming from Asia, I speak Cantonese, I understand how the culture works. They said, well, there's a business case for you to make partner, to focus on the Asian market. But of course, you need to be good at what you do, and that's a bare minimum. But then you can add your heritage to differentiate yourselves with others. Okay. The second thing I want to talk to you about is resilience. And I'll look up the dictionary. Resilient means to be able to withstand or recover quickly from difficult conditions. Or you probably heard a lot of people say, it's actually not how many times you fall over. It's actually how many times you pick yourself up that matters. Okay. In life, whether it's in your career, in your personal lives, in relationships, you are going to be going through highs and lows. That's just part of life. Of course, we always want to be in the high because we get a lot of contentment, we're happy, but life is there's going to be lows. So the key is, what are you going to do to pick yourself up? How are you going to go about it? And what did you learn from the experience? And I'm happy. I'm very open. I'm happy to share with you. I made partner I mentioned before in 2014, but I also went through partner program in 2013. I missed out on partner in 2013. Okay. Back then I was working very hard to prepare myself to make partner. I met all my KPIs. I've done all I can to be a partner, but to be told you aren't able to make partner that year because for reasons outside of your control, it was very devastating for me at that point in time. I was very sad, I was very disappointed, and I remember that went on for a couple of weeks. But I remember very clearly, a couple of weeks after I found out, one of our senior executives, she spoke to us about leadership. What does it take to be a leader? And she said, to be a leader, one of the criteria is you must be resilient. You must pick yourself up when you are down. So I actually reflected on that. I said, well, if I'm going to be a partner, if partner means you're a leader of, in our firm we've got 6,000 people, you must be resilient. So I actually changed my mindset and I continued on the journey. So in 2014, I was made partner. So what did I learn from that process? I learned 3 things. First is, you can only do the best you can because there are things outside of your control. Sometimes you say, well, mathematics, 1 + 1 = 2, but in the real world, it doesn't happen that way. All you can do is do the best you can, put yourself in a position when, if the opportunity arrives, you are there to take it. Second thing I learned is to look at the big picture, look at the perspective on things, longer perspective on things. I've told myself, well, if my partnership is delayed by 1 year, what does it mean in a 30 to 40 year career? Okay, it's not going to make a big difference. So I changed my mindset. And the third thing that I learned was it is actually the time when you're low that makes your high a lot more enjoyable. So you make sure you celebrate that. Make sure you celebrate that with people that you love, the people who supported you. That's very, very important. The third thing that I think William also mentioned before was surrounding yourself with positive people that can make a positive impact in your life and your career. We've mentioned, William mentioned before, mentors and sponsors. They're also very critical. They're very, very critical in your career. If you don't have one, I would recommend you go and get one, whether in your organization, outside your organization. They're there to guide you. They're there to give you advice. They're there to provide you with a safe environment where you can freely share your ideas. They're there to give you a different perspective on things. And for me, I have a coach and I have a sponsor. One of the things that I've taken out from my coach was she helped me identify my blind spots. I think a lot of you, drive a car or have a driver's license. We've always been taught when you're driving, when you're changing lanes, make sure you look at your blind spot, or else if you don't check it, you might crash into the car next to you. Okay. If you're working in an organization, you go through your performance reviews. You know what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and you probably know that yourself. But what I see the danger is if you don't know what's in your blind spot, and if you're not aware of it, that might potentially have impact in your career. Okay, at least someone can actually help you identify it. If it's a strength, great. If it's a development area, at least you know, and you can work on it. And like I mentioned, I was fortunate enough to have a coach and a sponsor, and they've been an immense help in my career. For the good times, I mentioned the bad times, they put positive energy back into me and help me put things into perspective. Lastly, aim to be the best in your craft and deliver on your promises. It's quite self-explanatory, isn't it? You've got to be best, aim to be best in what you do, because that is a key criteria in differentiating you from others. It is the people who aim to be the best, they're the ones that will go the extra mile. And I mentioned to you before, being true to your passion. If you aim to be the best in what you do, and you're doing with a passion, then that would make that process a lot more enjoyable and a lot more fun. So imagine if you're aimed to be best in what you do, you're the best at what you do, you're passionate, and you actually bring your heritage, being true to your heritage, to the table. If you think about all three things combining into one, that is one powerful differentiator between you and others. Okay? Delivering on promises, I've got a quote here. After all is said and done, more said is done. What that means is there's a lot of talk, not enough action. And that's critically important, because if you make a promise to someone, you must deliver. So, and I don't know whether in your life, whether you come across someone who's actually promised you something and they failed to deliver. Well, how did you feel? Because if you fail to deliver, it will impact on your personal credibility. It will impact on your personal brand, and also will impact on the trust that you have with the person. You know, I'll give an example. In my line of work, I have a team of 7 people. If I have a good opportunity coming up and I want someone to get involved, obviously I'm going to get someone who's had a good track record, who's delivered in the past. I'll give that opportunity to that person, right? That's just natural. So my advice is make sure if you promise someone something, make sure you deliver. That's very, very important. So just to summarize, the four key things, 4 ingredients that helped me get to where I am today. Be authentic, be yourself. Be resilient. It's not how many times you fall over, it's how many times you pick yourself up that matters. The third thing is surround yourself with positive people, because they will make a positive impact in your life and your career. And last thing, be the best in your craft and deliver on your promises. Thank you very much for having me today. Thank you for the opportunity. And I hope you all the best in your existing and future career.
Thank you very much, Gary. I guess what Gary just shared is not knowledge, it's wisdom. Well, that's not only applicable to accounting firms, that's applicable to any job. If you want to become good at something, you have to have all of those 4 aspects, I guess. But I'm going to ask a question on behalf of a lot of accounting students, I guess, today there. We heard working in a Big 4, you have to work like a dog. 累成狗. So is that true?
Is that true?
Yes.
Well, it's all relative, isn't it? You know, I've joined, you know, Arthur Andersen or Ernst & Young. I've always spent all my life in Big 4 firms, so I don't know what busy means. But from what I hear, yes, you know, there's always things that we're busy on, whether it's with client work or internal work. But I think busy also in a current day and age. We also have a lot of technology that, you know, follows you around. You know, I always say there's no, at the moment, I don't see there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's actually how you balance your life and work that matters. A good example is, you know, there are things that I need to do in my personal life that I need to get done during the working hours. So I need to get that done, but also being flexible in my personal life to be able to do what I need to do from a work perspective. That's one thing that, you know, I've learned. And the second thing is, you know, plan ahead and prioritize and know each task, whether they're urgent or important. You know, I always tend to work that is urgent and important first, urgent and not important, important not urgent, and not urgent not important. So prioritizing is very, very important, because in your life, whether it's work or personal life, there's a lot of distractions, a lot of things that you need to do. So you need to balance that out.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Gary.
Thanks, Chong.
Well, you can have a seat now. Now we're going to go to the panel discussion session.